But never have a row.
Be quiet. Now, we'll be back with the headlines at 8 o'clock. It's time for this week's News Watch. I told you to be quiet.
Hello and welcome to News Watch with me, Samira Ahmed. How does the BBC source and verify the flood of user-generated content it gets after a terrorist attack or a natural disaster? And when they're asking for silence to listen for survivors in the Mexican quake, should a BBC reporter be speaking to camera? First, it's been another week when the government's approach to leaving the European Union has dominated the news agenda, culminating in the Prime Minister's much-anticipated speech in Florence. This is probably the most divisive issue among Newswatch viewers, and divisive is also a word that's been used about Boris Johnson's role in the Brexit debate. That was the subject discussed by Amber Rudd on Sunday's Andrew Marr Show.
You said very famously at the time of the referendum, I think, that he was life and soul of the party, but not a man you'd want to drive you home at the end of the evening. What did you mean by that?
Yes, what I meant by that is I don't want him managing the Brexit process. What we've got is Theresa May managing that process. She's driving the car to continue the allegory, and I'm going to make sure that, as far as I'm concerned and the rest of the Cabinet are concerned, we help her do that. This is a difficult moment.
So this is backseat driving, in effect?
Yeah, you could call it backseat driving, absolutely. But I'm very clear that the Cabinet and the government supports Theresa May, that there's a difficult moment to make sure that we get the best result for the United Kingdom, but I'm sure we can.
So was that the Home Secretary publicly admonishing the Foreign Secretary, providing evidence of widening cabinet splits over Brexit, as BBC News bulletins and website articles subsequently claimed? Not according to Clive Tong, who objected to what he called the BBC's slanted approach on the reporting of this interview. When Andrew questioned Ms Rudd about Boris Johnson, her responses were overwhelmingly in support of him and his enthusiasm. She agreed to Andrew's suggestion that Boris was behaving like a backseat driver in the same jocular manner that Andrew put it. And a viewer called John from Gloucester agreed. I found the interview very informative, so why only pick out the current Boris Johnson sensationalism? Interviewers are there to extract useful information from politicians to help the public understand the issues, not to set out to trap them and milk the next bit of news. Across the Atlantic, the chaos and destruction caused by recent storms and floods continued, with Hurricane Maria devastating several islands in the Caribbean. How the name of one of those islands was pronounced caught the attention of several Newswatch viewers, following broadcasts like these.
And there are reports of extensive damage to Dominica, where there were torrential rain and winds of more than 160.
So you might have noticed, the eagle-eyed viewers amongst you, that was quite an old episode of Newswatch. So we'll find the right one and make sure we can bring that to you a little later. So apologies, a few technical gremlins at this end. In the meantime, let me run you through the front of today's papers, because we've been talking on the programme today about changes to HS2 possibly dominating many of the front pages. The Prime Minister set to hit the HS2 brake is the headline on the Sunday Times this morning, or the Saturday Times, I should say. Of course, they've been looking at the challenge there, the Northern Powerhouse Partnership talking to us this morning about the implications for investment and that commitment to levelling up. Suggestions there that there could be a rift within the Conservative Party about plans for HS2. We know, of course, committed between London and Birmingham, officially agreed between Birmingham and Manchester, but that both the Labour Party and the Conservatives refusing to confirm whether that stage of the project will go ahead. The Sun telling us that Prince Harry snubbing Prince Charles. He says that Prince Harry rejected the offer to spend the anniversary of the Queen's death with the King at Balmoral. The Sun say that is a royal exclusive. Instead of staying there, he was in a hotel instead. And so many of the other stories on the front pages related, of course, to events with Russell Brand. It's now a week, of course, since we had those first allegations about sexual assault and the allegations. We've had a response from Russell Brand overnight. He's criticised both the mainstream media and thanked some of his followers for their support. In the Daily Telegraph, they're talking their headline, Whitehall taken over by woke zealots, is their headline this morning. They say the Cabinet Secretaries warned government policy may be improperly influenced. So those are a look at the front of the newspapers for you this Saturday. We will find that right edition of NewsWatch for you and bring it to you as soon as we can. But in the meantime, here's the latest edition of Click.